Well, let's talk about people. So my next question is, why can't my team just try to do SEO, ourselves?
Well, you can. You absolutely can. The biggest reason why it's difficult for your team, one is just content overload. There is so much content out there. I think there's, at last count, there's somewhere around 2 billion blogs on the internet, right? And I think at last count, there's somewhere around 7 billion people on the world, right? So that's like almost, one blog for every 3.5 people, which is just insane. It's just so much content, right? So you have this content overload, right? So where do I start? How do I create content that's a little different, right? How do I create content that's valuable? I always talk about like the expression "whiff 'em."
Oh, sure.
Right. Like, so what's in it for me? Right.
Yep.
Right. So your content really needs like to be written from the aspect of the reader. So as you're writing content, like not only does it have to be quality content, not only does it have to have, good keyword analysis, but it's got to have this sort of like, what's in it for me? Like, why is the reader reading this? What's the value coming to it? So a customer could definitely do it themselves, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of research. It takes a lot of time. Unfortunately, what we're seeing in this business climate is that people don't have the time for that, just because it's a priority issue. So not that writing good content is not a priority, but oftentimes it doesn't go all the way to the top. There's so many other things that are just so much more important. Could be sales, could be marketing, other marketing deliverables. So as a result, this SEO, this content thing kind of gets pushed to the back, and then it becomes like a back burner issue. Mm-hmm. So you go with a company like ours, where we're going to actually make it part of our package, that it's going to be pushed to the front, and it's going to be a priority. We'll have the software in place, we'll have people in place, and we'll be able to execute in a scenario that you might not be able to.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the conversations I had with one of our potential clients was saying, like almost everybody who's an entrepreneur has read that Jim Collins book about like good to great. And he like talks about the idea of the flywheel. Mm-hmm. And you know what, like if you're not consistently pumping out content, if you don't have an editorial calendar that says what content's going out in the next 30, 60, 90, 90 days, 6 months, even a year, that's the flywheel we're talking about. And the problem is that I'm finding that if your team internally could have done it, they would have done it.
Yep.
Okay. And if I say, hey, well, show me your editorial calendar and you don't have one, then I'm like, well, then you don't have
what's right. And then
I don't think you have content marketing. I certainly don't think that you're scoring well in SEO unless you're such a rock star that you're getting such amazing backlinks from outside sources. But you know what I mean? It's one of those things where I don't know. I think that what we want to be able to do is, like you were saying, kind of build a system. SEO is part of that system. Mm-hmm. Other things are going to lean into that. Social media is going to lean into SEO. Content's going to lead into SEO. Analytics are going to lead into SEO. So, when I hear, can you do it themselves? I'm like, well, how big is your team? Do you have subject matter experts in all the critical spots? And if you don't, maybe, you're not one blog away from knowing how to do SEO. I can tell you that.
That's for darn sure.